before we begin questions, I have 3 standard questions I want to ask, so I'll go down the dais here to get a nod or a response. So, do you agree, if confirmed, to appear before this committee, designated members of this committee, and other appropriate committees of this Congress to provide information subject to appropriate and necessary security protections with respect to your responsibilities? Mr. Graves?
Yes, I do, Senator.
Mr. Haygood?
We're going to get this right. Yes, I do, Senator.
Thank you. Mr. Haygood, go ahead.
Yes, I do, Senator.
Mr. Jones?
Yes, I do, Senator.
Mr. Graham?
Yes, I do, Senator.
Okay. Do you agree to ensure the testimony, briefings, documents, and electronic and other forms of communication of information are provided to this committee, its staff, and other appropriate committees in a timely manner? Just go down.
Yes, I do, Senator.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you. Finally, do you know of any matters which may or may not have been disclosed that may place you in a conflict of interest if you are confirmed?
I do not, Senator.
Thank you.
I do not, Chairman.
Thank you.
No, Chairman.
I do not.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm going to ask a question here, and I'm going to, number one, I think all of your opening statements were really, really good, and I thank the families and friends and others who are here in support of you, because I know filling out the forms and being able to meet all the standards is no picnic here, and so you've had a long trek to get here, and we appreciate, and I know the support that others offer you is very valuable, so thank you for that. So the Tennessee Valley Power's demand, I mentioned this in my opening statement, is projected to grow in the coming years. TVA's draft integrated resource plan anticipates 26 gigawatts of new baseload energy generation capacity is needed over the next decade to ensure system reliability. So 2 questions. What do you see as the primary challenges to TVA providing affordable, reliable energy, and how would you work to address those challenges? And I'll start with Mr. Graves.
Thank you for the question, Senator. And you're right, the grid growth needs to happen, especially with AI and other things being added to the system. I think the integrated resource plan is a critical tool to understanding what that demand is going to look like and what the portfolio should look like to be able to deliver that power. When I was at MLG&W, we did our integrated resource plan as well. So the affordability, that's the core mission of TVA, is to provide affordable, reliable electricity. So that's got to be at the core of how we look at that. I do think nuclear power is going to have to play an extremely important part, and that's a costly venture to go into. And so there are things we will have to look at as a board of how we fund that going forward.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Haygood?
Excuse me. Senator, thank you for that question. I agree in large part with my colleague. Our best hope is nuclear. I'm bullish. The new SMR technology that's been around for a while it gives me opportunity for hope. It is clean, and I'm hopeful about that. The IRP that my colleague just mentioned is a critical thing that we're going to have to tackle as a board if confirmed. Right. That is a very, very critical thing.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yes, and if confirmed, I will commit to continue to look into carbon-free future technology and to also increase the hydropower and the nuclear, which on the nuclear end of it, we need a sense of urgency.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Graham, did you have a comment on what the problems might be to how are we going to get to this exponential gigawatts that we need to at the TVA? You've probably dealt with this in Florida. I mean, what are the stumbling blocks? What are the so if you have a comment on that.
Thank you, Chairman. I think number one is to make sure that the numbers that people are talking about are legitimate. I mean, is this a pipe dream or is this actually going to come true? I believe it is, but I
You mean
think,
on the gigawatt side? Or
Yes.
do we really need all this? Okay.
I think that needs to be verified and make sure that we dotted our i's and crossed our t's. I think the biggest opportunity, as some of my colleagues down here have said, is going to be nuclear. I mean, especially the SMRs, and I think that's one of the things I'm mostly excited about being in the TVA, because I think we have the opportunity to make that happen and try to make it happen as quick as we can. And I think once we've done that, then we can use that as the template for everything else. I mean, I think I've seen what happened in Georgia with Vogel and how long that took. I mean, it went $16 billion over budget,
Right.
and it took an extra 6 years, and nobody wants to be the next one going down that path. And so
Right.
I think SMRs is going to be the solution to that, and I think TVA is in a position to be on top of that and have that sense of urgency to move forward with it.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to start with you this time. So on economic development, I'm particularly interested in this aspect of it, being an Appalachian myself, not served by the TVA, but very similar, very similar regions and pockets of our states that still haven't developed. And so how do you see TVA being able to continue that mission, but maybe change the mission, change the way the mission's delivered, maybe for those remaining areas of the TVA authorities area that have yet to be touched and being able to be a beneficiary of the economic development opportunities?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. I think personally, the Valley, the TVA Valley, is primed for growth, is primed for opportunity. I've come from manufacturing. I've had several years working in paper mills, several years working around power boilers. I think main thing you're going to need land, you're going to need access to water. I think TVA, the Valley area, has an abundance of that.
Yeah.
And I think you could bring in opportunities that maybe can't fit other places, that won't fit in New York City, that won't fit, some places, in Miami, that sort of thing. And I think it's just a matter of making sure you chase after the right industries that fit in those locations.
Right. Thank you.
I can tell you, being in Jacksonville, we're a very pro-military town, and we have a lot of blue-collar people that put in the 20 years, and they're looking for something to do afterwards. And we used to argue all the time, do we chase after Google and Microsoft, or do we chase after some of these manufacturing outfits? Because we have the workforce there that can come in, go to work every single day, and do the job. And they've already proved it by serving our country for 20 years.
Thank you. Do you mind if I go down? Are you? Okay, Mr. Jones?
And thank you for that question, because it's near and dear to my heart, living in Gunnersville, Alabama, being in a rural area, knowing what it takes to run a power line out to a mobile home that's a quarter of a mile off the main road, and making sure that they have sustainable, affordable power, and those folks are taken care of. And at the same time, partnering with the local power companies and everything from weatherization to solar programs on rooftops. Working with that way right there and then partnering, I think, with the local power companies is very important as far as the economy and economic growth.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Haygood? I think you need the microphone. Is the microphone on?
Excuse me. Thank you for that question, and thank you for reminding me again. I need to be better at that. Senator, when I heard you ask that question, I couldn't help but think about broadband. Broadband was not, of course, in the TVA Act of 1933. And TVA is not in the broadband business, but TVA ought to do everything that they can to help local telecoms and the local power providers make that happen, particularly in the rural areas, which I grew up in a rural area, and that's very near and dear to my heart.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Mr. Graves?
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. The TVA Act was for rural communities and to serve them not just with electricity, but bring economic development to those areas. We see that happening today in the Tennessee Valley. A great example is the Blue Oval, the Ford plant in Brownsville, Tennessee, which is a rural community and that has brought jobs and economic development. So I don't think it's changing the mission. I think it's refocusing back on our original mission.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Whitehouse?
Senator Kelly is here under a bit of a time crunch, so if the chairman will permit,
Oh,
I'll
sure.
let him
Senator
go
Kelly,
ahead.
go forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Whitehouse. And thank you for all the nominees for being here today. It was nice to see you all in my office yesterday, and I wanted to talk about one of the topics we discussed in that meeting, which is the data center construction across the country. My understanding is that TVA, that region, uses about 17,000 megawatt hours of energy on an hourly basis right now. But some reports indicate that the TVA region is seeing demand from data centers that could add an additional 11,000 megawatt hours to what is currently being used. While acknowledging that these estimates may be bullish, we can reasonably expect that the region will need to significantly increase the amount of energy or the amount of power that it produces and the energy it consumes. I recently put out a policy framework called AI for America, which argues that utilities need to make sure that the cost of adding new generation capacity is borne by these large power users, not families and not small businesses who sometimes have to struggle to pay their utility bills. This could include innovative power purchase agreements that better account for upfront costs and encourage long-term investments to make our aging grid more resilient. So I'd like to hear from each of you on this. How would you handle the unprecedented demand from data centers in the TVA region, and how will you protect that ratepayers? How would you protect them from rate hikes caused by the increased demand? We'll start with Mr. Graves.
Thank you for that question, Senator. 100% agree with you. It cannot be on the back of ratepayers. I come from Memphis, Tennessee. We have an extremely high poverty level, and loading on more utility expense to the backs of their paycheck is just not doable. I do agree with you. Power purchase agreements are something that this board will need to look at. And again, AI is out of the bag. It's not going back in. And so we have got to figure out how to deal with that and the energy demands for that. Thank you.
Mr. Hagood.
Thank you, Senator, for that question, and certainly enjoyed a few minutes with you yesterday. Thank you for that. I totally agree. Costs should not be borne by large corporations and passed on to the back of our ratepayers. I'm on the other end of the state from my colleague here to my right, but I grew up in a very rural area, and that's a very important issue to me. And thank you for that question. It confirmed you.
Mr. Jones.
And thank you. It was nice. Enjoyed time with you yesterday. And I would say the data centers, that's all we're hearing about now, is data centers everywhere. However, when they come in, what's it going to cost to supply the power for that? And then what if they leave 5 years from now and we're left holding the bag? So there's got to be a partnership through bonds, or a bond for them to say, if you're not here longer than 20 years, you're going to pay for this power. Because we cannot put it on the backs of the grandmother in Asbury, Alabama, that's trying to feed 2 children.
And Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Senator. In abundance of time, I agree with my colleagues. We have something that we call cost causation, and basically the cost causer is the one that's got to support all that cost. And we just got to figure out an effective way of making sure that happens.
Do each of you agree that maybe we should consider a separate rate class for data centers?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I think that is something that the board would explore in the future.
Okay.
Senator, thank you for that question. I think that is very worthy of consideration. And if confirmed, I certainly would look into that and be happy to report back to you about that.
Yeah. Mr. Jones?
Absolutely a different rate class, but at the same time, I hope that the data center's paying for their own power that they have provided themselves.
Okay. Mr. Graham? All right, and then finally, this unprecedented demand for new energy, and it's significant. I mean, we might have to double in Maricopa County the amount of available. And, I think we need an approach that looks at, all available, most available options. Some gas, nuclear, hydropower, and renewables, certainly, like solar and wind. So quickly, in the remaining time, do each of you feel that we should consider renewable energy like solar, wind, battery storage as part of the solution?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Yes, I think we've got to look at all energy generation. We aren't going to have any option but to look at everything.
Mr. Haggard?
Yes, Senator, thank you. Everything should be on the table.
Okay. Mr. Jones?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Mr. Graham?
Yes, Senator, I think a diverse grid is a resilient grid, so I agree.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Wicker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I may use some of that same stretched 5 minutes that our distinguished chair used. I'm from Mississippi. We already have our member on the board, Bill Rennick, who is chairman of the Tennessee Valley Authority Board. His term doesn't expire till 2027. So I'm glad that Tennessee is getting 2 more, and now Alabama will have its share. Mississippi is actually the second highest user of TVA. Tennessee has 52% of the total area covered by TVA, and after that is Mississippi at 19%, Alabama down at 11. So we're not Tennessee, we're totally TVA. We can compare, and I can just say that TVA, where it is available in Mississippi, is quite appreciated and quite popular. There was some statement made about acting boldly, and I certainly want to commend, and I think I see from the testimony, Madam Chair, Mr. Ranking Member, that there's much appreciation for the bold action of TVA in recent years. The Clinch River project will be one of the first at the forefront of nuclear development in the United States. Currently, 2 to 3 years ahead of anyone else in terms of SMRs. In my own state of Mississippi, we are benefiting from the rates that give us economic expansion. GE Aerospace has just recently expanded in Panola County, near Batesville, the Golden Triangle, Columbus, Starkville, and West Point, home of Mississippi State University. There in Starkville is now home to 5 TVA certified megasites. TVA is advancing plans to build simple cycle natural gas plant, and it's just astounding the things that are happening. When complete, the New Caledonia site in East Mississippi will bring 500 megawatts to the grid, enough to power 250,000 homes, which is quite a big area in a rural state like Mississippi. There's a company called Oklo, which is out of Oak Ridge in Mr. Haygood's neighborhood. It has an advanced nuclear technology company that will invest nearly $1.7 billion to build fuel recycling right there in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. The folks there are thrilled about this, and it again speaks to the vision of the current and past leadership. The facility is located at a 247-acre site at Oak Ridge Heritage Center. There's also an outfit called Intra One Energy. Will collaborate with TVA to provide up to 6 gigawatts of new nuclear power generation on sites in TVA's 7-state region. And this will eventually be able to power the equivalent of approximately 4.5 million homes, or 60 of these new power-consuming data centers, which we're all concerned about, and which I joined my friend Mr. Kelly from. Google, Kairos, they are bringing transformational change in the nuclear energy area field to TVA. TVA is the first U.S. Utility to sign a PPA to buy electricity from Advanced Generation 4 reactor, and Hermes 2 is the first deployment under Kairos Power landmark deal with Google. And I could go on and on, not to mention the charities and nonprofits that TVA supports. TVA Bicentennial Volunteers, $655,000 in robotics awards, and yes, TVA prices are still something that we benefit from in Appalachia, Madam Chair, and I certainly appreciate that. I'm so impressed, and I'm going to take some extra time if you don't mind, and I know my friend from Massachusetts won't mind, because I listened to him for over an hour yesterday in the Commerce Committee, and he is a dear friend of mine. But let me just, going through the testimony today, Mr. Graves knows it well, and I grew up watching Memphis TV. I'm so old that we didn't have TV in Tupelo. We had to watch Memphis until I got on up to the teenage years. And so I know about MLGW. But Mr. Graves says Memphis and the Valley region are well served by TVA. Thank you for saying that. We can do better, but I think most people in the Memphis viewing area and an MLGW area agree with that. And Madam Chair, Mr. Haygood's testimony is they had an opportunity to look at other providers that made outreach to them. They said, no, we're going to stick with TVA because they've served us better and they will serve us better. Mr. Haygood says, today TVA continues to drive energy production, economic development, and access to natural resources across the region. And Mr. Jones, as somebody who frequently goes by Lake Guntersville, and who every chance I get goes to Pickwick Reservoir in the northeast corner of the state of Mississippi, yes, I mean, we love TVA's power generation, and yes, almost 10% is still hydropower, and that's renewable as far as I'm concerned. But that wonderful Lake Guntersville, I mean, that is an economic engine for the area, and the same for Pickwick Reservoir. And Mr. Jones says, even now, our residential power rates remain 30% below those of neighboring providers. This is a great testimony, and kudos to the president, my colleagues, for bringing someone in from outside the TVA area to bring some new thought. Mr. Graham, he knows what he's doing. It's obvious because he's been doing this in Jacksonville. But he's also aware of this NIMBY issue. In his testimony, he says he's aware of the not in my backyard people. And there's got to be a balance here because somebody's backyard has got to generate power, and we need to be mindful of those folks, but we also need to be mindful it's got to come from somewhere. And also, I appreciate Mr. Graham saying we can't prematurely close down current generation and make the contribution to generation that Mr. Kelly and others have alluded to, we're going to have to do it right. And yes, nuclear and renewal is the way to go. So I appreciate the acknowledgement from these fine witnesses who I intend to vote for in acknowledging the contribution and the great work that TVA has done. And yes, the economic development and jobs are there. I look forward to the board, which has been working mighty hard but doesn't have a quorum, being complimented by these witnesses. And thank you for that extended 5 minutes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Whitehouse.
Thanks very much, Chairman, and welcome to all the nominees. Thank you for your visit to my office yesterday. Unlike Mr. Haygood, I did not have the wisdom to start my own practice, but spent my early years as the junior new kid in the Attorney General's office, where they came in and handed me utility regulation. Nobody else wanted it. I was the new kid. I had to do it. And I've learned a lot from those early days. And one of the things I've learned is that the way that the grid works is that usually nukes run constantly because they're low marginal cost. And then usually solar comes on next because it's the next lower operating cost, followed by wind. And then the grid price set by the most expensive unit that has to be called up is almost always a fossil fuel unit. And so if you remove clean energy from the grid, what you're doing is requiring for the same level of demand that more and more expensive fossil fuel powered units get called up. That raises costs for everybody on the grid. In most grids where that last unit called up is the price setter. Now, I know it's a little bit different on the TVA grid where you use a more blended grid, but I think the principle holds that if you suppress the lower cost forms of power, you drive prices up for your ratepayers, even if it's only on an average basis and not on a grid-wide basis. And in that light, I would like to ask if each of you will honor the board-approved retirement timelines for the Kingston and Cumberland coal generating stations. You could just go right across if you don't mind.
Thank you for that question, Senator. I think it's a little bit more complicated than answering yes or no. I think we have got to use all of our energy sources right now to meet the demand. And I think you heard me mention earlier the Integrated Resource Plan, which ought to be the strategy document for TVA. We've looked at that at a very high level, but we are going to have to dig into the details. And I think
You plan to honor the existing Integrated Resource Plan, or are you going to change that?
I think we will, Senator, I think we will have a new integrated resource plan here within the year.
Is that the same answer across the board? Anybody prepared to commit to honoring the Cumberland and Kingston Station plan?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. My answer would be the same as my colleague on the right.
Mr. Jones, same?
Until I'm confirmed, I would like to look into this and see, because I do believe in the renewables and carbon-free
Mr. Graham, same?
future.
Pretty much the same, sir.
So one of the other things I wanted to ask you, we talked about this a little bit when we were together. If you go to the Kingston station and the Cumberland station, they boil water with coal, but the steam then runs through steam turbines, and that runs generators that send out power through transformers that link to the grid connections and the transmission lines. In addition to all of that mechanical, electrical infrastructure, you also have the all-important community infrastructure of the workforce there, the men and women who have the expert knowledge and experience to run those facilities. So I want to ask each of you to assure me that you will give an honest, hard look at whether small modular reactors create the opportunity to boil that water at those stations and protect the rest of the infrastructure and the workforce around it while still meeting the board-approved goals regarding those two stations.
Ranking member, we talked about that yesterday. I found that to be an intriguing concept. And yes, I think we should explore that if we can. It should lower cost of the program as well and time frame if we can leave portions of it in place and only replace the heating element. So
Certainly, if you try to locate a new small modular reactor station somewhere, and you have to start from scratch, and you have to deal with siting issues, and you have to build the steam turbines, the generators, the transformers, the transmission, and the workforce, you're in a much different proposition than you are if most of that is already there, and you're just boiling water a new, cleaner, safer way.
Senator, as I said, yes, I found that intriguing, and that was a takeaway
An
from.
honest look at it?
Yes, sir.
Senator, thank you. I certainly would take a honest, hard look at it.
Yes, sir. And to me, again, we talk about nuclear, but we've got to have the sense of urgency to make this happen and then to put it in place.
Mr. Graham?
Senator, thank you. I think it's a fantastic idea. I've talked before about when you're talking about new nuclear and you have to quote, nuclearize the entire site. I don't think you need to do that. I think you just do a black box. You just do where the power is generated. You don't have to worry about the water and the steam generation. You don't have to worry about anything on this side, just that area. And I think in your scenario, you can take that same black box and put it anywhere. And so I think it's a great way of retrofitting old plants.
My time has expired, but let me ask each of you to be responsive to the questions for the record that I'm going to file for you to answer where you can take more than 5 minutes and reflect a bit first. But in particular, I'm going to be asking you to reflect on the fact that I believe is true, that if you suppress wind and solar power and perhaps battery support for wind and solar power, you are virtually inevitably raising costs for your TVA ratepayers at the end of the day. So thank you.
Thank you. Senator Markey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a big fan of public power. I know communities and labor are as well. Why? Because it's a win-win-win. Public power puts local communities before investor profits. It pays workers what they deserve, and it keeps energy affordable. In fact, because of its public power model, the Tennessee Valley Authority's electricity is cheaper than over 70% of our nation. So yes or no, going down the line, do you support the privatization of TVA? Yes or no?
No.
Thank you, Senator, for that question. The answer is no, sir.
No, sir.
Senator, thank you very much for that question. I've experienced both public utility and investor-owned utility, and I think there's absolutely no reason to do anything different here.
The answer is no?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay, yeah, no, good, thank you, appreciate it. So I just want to dig a little deeper. Yes or no, going down the line, do you agree not to sell off any portions of the service region, including transmission, hydro, or public land assets?
Senator, I don't think that's the board's decision. I think we uphold the TVA Act, which is enacted by you guys.
Do you agree not to sell off any of the portions of the service region, Mr. Hagan?
Senator, I agree with my colleague. That would be my answer. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. I do not see any reason why to sell any of TVA's assets off.
Thank you. That's the correct answer. Yes.
Sir, until I hear something different, I don't see any need to make any changes as far as selling off assets.
Thank you. At a time when utility bills are going up because across the country because of Trump's anti-energy policies, it's more important than ever to have public power that's responsive to the region's Main Street needs, not Wall Street shareholders. And privatization would be a direct threat to both TVA customers and TVA's workforce. So yes or no, going down the line. Do you agree to maintain strong collective bargaining relationships and protect good-paying union jobs? Mr. Graves.
Thank you, Senator. I have not read the collective bargaining, but I agree to do that and make a decision after I'm fully understand it.
Senator, thank you for that question. I believe that TVA's employees, as of maybe 6 months or a year ago, were 57% union, so the answer is
So you would make a commitment to continue collective bargaining?
I would make every commitment to look into that, and
That's not a commitment. Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir, I would.
Thank you, sir.
Senator, I think it's working very well right now. I have no desire to get in there and make that change.
No, thank you, sir. Yeah, we need a commitment to public power. We need a commitment to public power employees, union workers who are doing the job right now. So this is an astonishing number, but only 4% of TVA's energy portfolio is currently comprised of wind or solar. Just a staggeringly low number. By comparison, in my own home state of Massachusetts, where Senator Schiff was born and raised as a boy, still a Red Sox fan, it's not the sunniest place, Massachusetts, but last year, 25% of our electricity came from wind and solar. Only 4% in the TVA, which is a lot sunnier. So the good news is that the TVA has a large stock of carbon-free power and has recognized the benefits of moving towards clean, reliable, affordable energy, setting a target of 10,000 megawatts of solar by 2035 and net zero emissions by 2050. So yes or no, going down the line, do you commit to adhering to TVA's target to reach net zero emissions by 2050? Mr. Graves.
Senator, that is tough to answer yes or no to. I think we are in the middle of an integrated resource plan, which is taking a look at future demand and our energy generation.
TVA has a stated goal to be zero by the year 2050. Do you commit to fulfilling that plan?
Senator, I commit to making sure we've got enough power to take care of our citizens.
I know, yeah, you're not committing. Yeah, Mr. Hager.
Senator, thank you for that question. I think because of the great power need, I think that probably has to be reevaluated.
Yeah, I think that I can hear what the two of you are saying. Pretty clear. Mr. Jones.
Senator, currently over 50% of the power generated by TVA is carbon-free. So we hope to keep on striving on that. Also, on the 4%, I'd love to also include hydro, which is the original renewable resource.
That. So how about
and so that makes us 13%.
Huh?
Yeah. So that makes us 13%.
The answer yes?
Yes, sir.
You commit to that goal?
I commit to see what we can, I can't promise that's going to happen because of the need for power. However, it
4%
needs to be a go.
Renewables is all you have right now.
It needs to be a go.
It's sad. Yeah. Yes, sir. Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Senator. Can I get you to repeat the question, please?
Yeah. The question is, do you commit to adhering to TVA's target to reach net zero emissions by 2050? It's the existing goal of the TVA. Do you commit to adhering to that?
I commit to looking into it.
Jimmy?
I commit to looking into it.
Again, TVA should be the cutting-edge leader. They're already on third base with a lead. You have incredible resources down there. It's sunny almost every day in that region, which is not in Massachusetts. And I think it's a pretty sad commentary that we're not getting a more enthusiastic response to the goal of deploying renewables and meeting the goal which was established years ago, which is eminently achievable. But it's just still a continuing sad commentary on the vision which the TVA has. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as is often the case, Senator Markey asked many of the questions I was going to ask. I won't repeat those questions for you. I appreciate the opportunity we had to meet in my office. I share Senator Markey's view public power has helped keep energy affordable in TVA. It has attracted industry. It's strengthened rural communities for decades, going back to the establishment of the TVA under Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal. I think that public power model is the best path forward for TVA, and I was glad to hear in our conversations and again in committee that you're committed to retaining the public power model. I strongly disagree with any effort at privatization of TVA assets or moving away, selling away the resources of TVA, which has proven so successful. I also think it's vitally important that you honor the collective bargaining agreements that are in force and that you make it possible for people to collectively bargain and make the choice to form a union or not form a union, that be free and unfettered. Let me turn to the last topic the Senator asked you about, but maybe with one specific. I understand that the TVA Board approved the retirement of 2 of the 4 coal plants in TVA's service area. The 2025 TVA Integrated Resource Plan forecasts that all coal units will retire by 2035. Are you committed to maintaining course with the 2025 Integrated Resource Plan when it comes to coal retirement? Mr. Grace?
Thank you for the question, Senator. And I do believe we need to maintain as a public utility company. It may be a struggle to meet those targets just because of the increased demand. Again, we hope to be able to learn more and figure out how to move forward with our integrated resource plan, which is going to tell us what we need and how we fulfill that need. And so I think right now it may be hard to meet those targets.
Well, I think a lot of that increased demand may come from data centers. And in connection with negotiations over companies that want to establish data centers, there's an opportunity for you to maintain the climate goals that have been set and to maintain the retirement schedule that has been set for the coal plants. So I don't think generically increased demand is a reason to continue coal plants that have properly been scheduled for retirement. But Mr. Haygood, what's your view?
Senator, thank you, and thank you for meeting with us yesterday. I do think it would be hard to meet those goals.
So you're not committed to retiring the coal plants then?
With the situation with the great power demand in our country, Senator, I don't think I can.
So if it's necessary to accommodate new data centers, your view would be, let's keep the coal plants going, rather than let's require the data centers to participate in generation of cleaner energy?
Senator, thank you. My goal would be that everything is on the table to meet the growing power demand. That would be my answer.
Mr. Jones?
Senator, if confirmed, this will be one of my top priorities to look into this because the data centers are going to require so much power. But there was an article in the Wall Street Journal this week about bring your own power. And so hopefully those data centers can be bringing in the renewables, carbon-free power to sustain the power for them, which in turn would take less stress off of our grid and our power generations and increase more solar power and hydro. I'm a big fan of hydro.
And Mr. Jones, I agree to a point, and that is when you say you would hope that these new data centers and the companies behind them would bring in renewable energy.
Right.
You'll have the power to insist that that's where the new energy comes
Exactly.
from. And your communities are going to suffer whatever deleterious impacts there are from these data centers. They may not create many jobs. And if it's going to mean the coal plants remain open longer and people suffer the ill health effects and don't get many jobs as a result, doesn't look like a good bargain to me. So I would ask you to keep that very much in mind. And Ms. Graham, did you want to add anything on the question?
Senator, thank you very much for that question. Data centers are all over the board. There's people that are excited about it. There's people that don't want it in their backyard. I think, and you weren't here earlier, we talked about the number one job is going to, for us to figure out how much power generation we're going to need moving forward. Today, tomorrow, next year, 5 years. Then once we figure out how much we need generation-wise, I can't see prematurely closing down some of these other plants until we have the generation to replace it. I'm not saying you can't close them down, but until we have the generation to replace it, you can't.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I would just say, just to conclude, I'm glad you all expressed solid support for maintaining the public character of TVA, and I hope never to learn that should you be confirmed for these positions, that you do an about-face on that issue, which is of signal importance to me and to, I think, a lot of members of Congress. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield back.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that will bring our meeting to conclusion. I would like, for the record, to ask for unanimous consent that I have letters of support for various nominees, so ordered. I'll order it myself. I'm not going to object to myself. I thank you all very much. I look forward to your confirmation. I will be voting for all of you. I think that the expertise that you bring, while varied, is extremely needed on the board, and we obviously have challenges ahead of us. Coming from a coal state, I have to say that, we've powered generations of this country for years, and we're going to continue to do that until we find a better way, and that's what you all basically were I think, signifying to us in your answers. So I thank you for that. With no further questions, I would like to thank the nominees and all of my colleagues for participation in today's hearing. Senators who wish to submit without written questions for the record have until 5 p.m. this Friday, October 24th, to do so. The nominees' responses to those questions are due back to the committee no later than the close of business on Monday, October 27th, and will be submitted for the record. I would note, Chairman, our Ranking Member Whitehouse did make the comment that he will be submitting some questions to you, so I would pay attention to that and to those dates that I expressed. And with that, this hearing is adjourned, and thank you very much. Good luck.